Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm back with the Ninja Crispi DualZone. It's a $350 30-pound glass air fryer. Let's see how it works in today's video, starting with the unboxing. Here it is, the Ninja Crispi DualZone 2-basket glass air fryer. I paid $350 for this. Let's crack it open and see what's inside. Start off with the Ninja Quick Start Guide, always important. Important safety instructions. Oh, here it is. I got a lot. I still have packaging to take off of here. But they say this is the first glass air fryer with DualZone technology. It has two separate 4-quart glass cooking zones for an 8-quart total capacity. I will say my first impression is it's heavy and it's large. Heavier and larger than I expected. But they say you can cook 2 foods in 2 different ways at once. Each side can run independently with different times and temperature settings. And they have a smart finish mode, which allows you to stagger the zone start times so foods will finish at the same time. They also have match cook, which will allow you to copy the settings from one side to the other in case you have a double batch of food to make. They say it's thermal shock resistant glass, so you can go from the fridge to the fryer in minutes. There are 6 cook functions, which I'll go over later. They say the removable parts are dishwasher safe. They also say it has a counter safe design so you won't scorch your countertops. And finally, this one sports a whopping 1,785 watts of power. So I'm gonna finish unboxing all this stuff here. I got a lot of packaging to go through. Read over these instructions in the quick start guide, and it's time to start cooking. All right, I've read over the instructions. I've washed off the containers. But before I get started, how about a quick overview? First up, you have 2 4-quart containers with crisping trays and lids. There's a self-guided track that lets you put it in the right spot every time. And it clicks when in place. Taking a look at the control panel here, here's the power button. You have 2 zones, zone 1, zone 2. Each zone has a temperature and time settings, and you can also add 1 minute to your cook time. In the center here, we have match cook, which will allow you to copy the settings between the 2 zones. Smart finish, which will make sure they've both finished at the same time. And this dial allows you to make your selection, and you press it for on and off. It's huge. It's heavy, but it seems simple enough. Usually when I try an appliance like this, I kind of start small, work my way up, which I'm gonna do here. For my first test, I'm gonna do a couple of frozen items just to get a feel for how this works, try the smart finish, and see how it goes. So let me go grab my ingredients and then we'll get started. For my first test, I want to do something kind of on the simple side to get a feel for it. So I'm referring to the chart in the back of the guide here. I'm going to be doing frozen chicken nuggets, frozen tater tots, both of which are in this chart. Chicken nuggets, zone 2. Tater tots, zone 1. Now their chart has basically the same instructions for both the 12 ounces of chicken nuggets, which I have, and 1 pound of tots, which I have. So I'm going to use the match cook setting, which copies the settings from one side to the other. So let's set this up and get started. All right, turning it on. We're going to turn it to max crisp. The time I'm going to set for 13 minutes. The temperature I'm leaving as is. And we're going to hit match cook. All right, timeout. I already found an issue. I haven't started yet. I was trying to use the match cook feature, which copies settings from one side to the other, but I couldn't. I was fumbling around. I wasn't working. I had to dig in instructions again. Now it says air broil unavailable for match cook. There is no air broil setting, but there is max crisp. If I have max crisp set for either one of the sides, I can't use match cook. And you can't use max crisp on both sides at the same time. It's disabled on the other one. So when I had max crisp set here, it was disabled on this side. Maybe a bit of a limitation. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do my nuggets in air fry mode. I'm gonna do my tots on max crisp, and I'll use smart finish and see how it goes. It is a bit disappointing you can't use max crisp on both sides at the same time. So let's set it up for smart finish on both sides and see what happens. All right, power on. Zone 1. We're gonna go max crisp for 13 minutes. And then we're gonna go to zone 2, air fry, 390. They say 7 minutes. 7 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but we're gonna go with their instructions. Now we're gonna hit smart finish and hit the start button. You'll notice over here it's going, over here it says hold. That's a good sign. One thing I'm noticing over the original Crispi is you have a 4-digit clock instead of a 2-digit clock, which makes a lot less confusion. It might be a little bit louder than I expected, but not too bad. I also have to flip these tots halfway through, so I'll see what happens with this side when I pull it out of there. Will it pause this one? We shall see. So when this one gets down to 10 minutes, I'll come back. We're gonna flip them and we'll see what happens over here. So I'll come back soon and let you know what happens. All right, at the 7-minute mark, the zone 2 just kicked on. But here's the thing, I gotta flip this halfway through, so I gotta pull this out. All right, so it actually paused both of them, at least in this mode. Just gonna give you a quick flip here. And it automatically started back up again. When there's 1 minute left, I gotta add some cheese to the tots, and then we should be done. Interestingly, at about the 3.5 minute mark, I got a notification to flip. I wasn't going to, but since it told me to, I will. Flipping the nuggets. The first time I flipped it, I did it, I think, before the halfway mark. So if I had waited, it probably would have told me. So that's kind of a cool feature. It tells you when to flip it. All right, so with about a minute left, I gotta pull this out and add some cheese to my tots here. Let's try that. Now we're almost done here. Now say I was looking at this cheese and it wasn't melted enough. There is a +1 minute button on here, kind of like in a microwave. You can just press it and it adds a minute automatically to your time. But I'm not doing that. I think it's gonna be done. All right, now it says cool on there. I'm not really sure what that means. Can I pull them out of there? I guess. The unit itself really isn't that hot on top here. I'm assuming underneath it would be hot. The base isn't hot either. I'm gonna slide this over. My cheesy tots look nice. The nuggets, well, they look kind of the same. And these nuggets are not done. Not even close. The cheesy tots are done. So smart finish wasn't so smart. These are not done. Slide this back over. Now what I used for the nuggets was on the bag, 397 minutes. It didn't work. So I'm just gonna go a little longer and see what happens. Now we've only got one zone in here. How will that work? Let's see. Power on, we're gonna go zone 2. I'm gonna go max crisp. I'm gonna go 7 minutes on max crisp and just check them. I don't know, I have no idea. Not sure whatsoever. While that's finishing up, I put the lid on my tots to keep them warm, so the lids are nice. I think all the containers, the lids, and the crisping trays are all dishwasher safe. I don't think the crisping tray is microwave safe. 3, 2, 1. Well, those look done. Those are done for sure. All right, here's my original tots, and here's my, you can see they're definitely browner now. These are definitely done, maybe a little bit too done, I don't know. But some people might like them like that. Let's take a taste of here. I'll start with the tots and say it cooled a little bit. Perfectly cooked. Not that that was a big challenge, but it's perfectly cooked. Let's try one of these nuggets and hope I don't burn myself. Steaming hot. First round with the air fryer was kind of not that great, but with the max crisp, it definitely came through. So what I need to do next is let these cool down, clean them out, and get ready for the second round. But I learned some things in round 1. You can't use max crisp on both zones. And you can't use match cook when you're using max crisp. That's hard to say. Even after reading the instructions, I don't think that was really clear to me because it said you can't use air broil. There is no air broil. So for my second test today, I'm gonna come back with the very first recipe in the recipe guide. Garlic knots and pizza dip. Looks fun, looks tasty. And this is gonna use the bake and air fry modes for the 2 zones, so that should be interesting to check out. So I'll clean these off, let them cool off, and then we'll come back for round number 2. All right, it is time for the first recipe in the recipe guide. Garlic knots and pizza, anyone? I should say so. I cleaned both of these off. They say to install a crisping tray in one and set them aside, which I'm doing now. We're already past step 1. Step 2, into a bowl, add 1 block of softened cream cheese, a ½ cup of whole milk ricotta cheese, 1/3 cup of grated Parmesan cheese, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon of Italian seasoning, ½ teaspoon of garlic powder. Now stir. Add the mixture to the glass container without the crisper tray and spread into an even layer. Insert the container into zone 1. Now pull out the second container here and we add 1 box of knots. Now insert this into zone 2. All right, powering the unit on. Select zone 1 and use the dial to select bake. Bake mode. Set the temperature to 400. Press time and set to 20 minutes. Now select zone 2. We're heading to air fry on this one. For the temperature, we're going to 400. And the time is 18 minutes. We're gonna select Smart Finish. Press the dial to begin. This is going to run for about 2 minutes before this one starts up. Now this isn't really set it and forget it. I have several things to do during the cooking process, like adding the cheese and the pizza sauce here, switching out the garlic nuts there. I'll let you know when anything changes. That was my flip notification, but I'm not flipping, but I'm going to be stirring. So at the 10-minute mark, we're supposed to pull out zone 1, give it a stir, spread it out again. Now we pour a small jar of pizza sauce on top of that. Spread that into an even layer as well. Top with a 1.5 cups of mozzarella cheese. And a 1/2 cup of mini pepperonis. Now return to the unit. Now in 45 seconds, we switch out the garlic knots. All right, 9 minutes is up for this side. Garlic knots batch number 2. Here's how the first batch of these look. Now I just wait for it to finish, but let me try one of these garlic knots here. It's perfect. It's perfect. All right. Here is the first batch of garlic knots. Came out good. I'm looking forward to trying it with some dip. And we're done. Now one thing, it says, right now it says cool on the display. They say wait until end appears on the display, which I didn't do the first round. Here is the pizza dip itself. It looks delicious. This is what the recipe shows. This is what I've got. I mean, maybe it doesn't look quite as good. This is like an idealized version. Their pepperoni spaced apart perfectly. Mine was just kind of thrown in there, but it doesn't mean it won't taste good though. And the second batch of knots also look quite nice. I'm just gonna dump these knots onto a plate here. Let's take a quick taste of this dip here first. What do you guys think? Oh, nice cheese pull. There you go. Just taste it by itself first. Good. The pepperoni has a nice crisp to it. Let's try some of this with the garlic knots. Garlic knots are nice and perfectly, look at that. Fluffy inside, very nice. Oh yeah. I feel like I had a pretty successful first day. I learned some things that maybe were some limitations, but also I learned that you can do a lot in here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna clean these off. I'm gonna put these in the dishwasher, see how they do. Because most of these things are supposed to be dishwasher safe. We shall see. And I'll come back tomorrow with another round of tests to see what else we can do in the Ninja Crispi DualZone. But for now, I'm gonna enjoy this meal and then I clean up my mess. But I'll see you tomorrow. We'll see what we make then. All right, it is day number 2. Before my next round, I got a few observations. First up, I ran them through the dishwasher with no problems. The containers look fine, the crisping trays look fine, and the lid looks fine. The only thing I noticed is that you get water trapped underneath there and you really can't get to it. There's no way to remove that, so I don't think it really affects anything, but it might bother some people. And while perusing the quick start guide, I noticed a couple things as well. Notice a lot of these charts have slightly different times for single zone versus dual zone. So if you're only using one zone, it's a little bit less time than if you're using both zones. Except the Max Crisp cooking chart does not even have 2 zones listed. So when you pair that with not being able to use Max Crisp on both sides, it just seems like there's some sort of a shared power between the two of them. Maybe not surprising, but it does affect things. But with that, let's get right to something from their chart, and it's gonna be my lunch today. They have a dual zone chart here. I'm gonna do burgers and fries. 2 1/4-pound patties, air fry at 390. And for fries, they've got a 1 pound, Max Crisp, 400 for 10 to 15 minutes. All right, here we go. Time for my lunch. 2 1/4-pound burgers, seasoned as desired. I'll place them in one of the containers here. And they just fit. Over here we have 1 pound of frozen fries. There's no way I'm eating all that for lunch, but I'm gonna make it anyways. Let's move these out to the side here. Bring in my 29-pound Ninja Crispi. Slide in the burgers in zone 1. Slide in the fries in zone 2. For the burgers, we're gonna use air fry, 390 for 11 to 17 minutes. I'm gonna go on the low end of that. I'm gonna go 12 minutes. Over on zone 2 here, French fries, we're gonna go Max Crisp. I am unable to change the temperature to 400 degrees on Max Crisp. Can't change it. How strange. I cannot change the temperature. Even though they say 400 on Max Crisp, I can't do it. Maybe some other weird limitation with using Max Crisp, I don't know. I had to hit this smart finish. Strange that the recipe guide calls for 400 on max crisp, and I can't set that. So I guess I'll just have to watch the fries closely. I'll watch both of them closely. I'll flip halfway through, I'll shuffle these around halfway through, and we'll see what happens. So I'll let you know when anything changes. They say it's time to flip. I'm not sure it's time to flip, I'm gonna flip anyways. I can already tell it's gonna take more than 12 minutes. But we'll see. I'm gonna jostle these around too. There's no way this is gonna be done in 6 minutes, so I'll have to keep adjusting the time, I guess, until it's right. I can already tell you this ain't done. It is not done. Let me see how not done they really are. This is after 12 minutes on air fry mode. We're getting there. All right, so I'm putting the burger on for 2 more minutes, the fries on for 5 more minutes. I'm not using Smart Finish because I don't want the burgers to sit there for several minutes without being cooked. They're close, they're the 150s, so it shouldn't be too much longer, I think. We shall see. All right, so the burgers should be done, hopefully. I'm gonna let the fries keep going while I check. I say the fries have a little bit longer to go. We're 15 minutes now on the fries. The burgers are just past 165. The fries need longer to go, so that's where we're at. Here's what the burgers are looking like. I don't know, I'm gonna reserve judgment until I taste it. I'm hoping they're not dried out, but I guess we'll see in a minute here. All right, I think the fries should be done by now. They better be. I would say those look pretty done. And here's the burger itself. I took it out right when it hit 165 because I didn't want it to dry out. Take a look inside. It does look evenly cooked in there. That's good. Take a bite of just the burger by itself. A little juicy on the inside, not real crisp on the outside, but it is well cooked and it does taste good. That's a win for the Ninja Crispi DualZone. I'm gonna have my lunch on one of my peel plates if you ever saw that review. These are plates that you actually peel. Here we go, my Ninja Crispi DualZone lunch. My hamburger, my fries, and a little bit of ketchup. Haven't tried a fry yet. Let's try a fry here. Fries are good, but as long as they went a tad bit dry and not even as crispy as I want them to be. It definitely seems like some trial and error is still a need for this. Good thing I'm not done testing this out yet, so I'm gonna eat my lunch, come back for the next round. I just finished my lunch and I've got some observations about the food and about that round itself. It's a little bit weird that I couldn't change the temperature of the max crisp on the fries. I looked over the manual for the 4th time. I didn't see anything about it being locked to 450, but it seemed to be, at least in that configuration. Although I did in the manual upon my 4th look at it, see that it does say you can't use max crisp in 2 zones at the same time. It's only mentioned once, but it is there. But as far as the food goes, you know, like the hamburger tasted fine, but you know, I missed that crust that you get with a cast iron skillet or a grill, although it was perfectly cooked inside. The fries, they were a bit hit and miss. Some of the fries were crispy and some of the fries were not so crispy. And it had to go 5 extra minutes on max crisp, so I was afraid it was gonna get dried out. So I mean, I definitely need some tinkering as far as the fries go. But on the other hand, with the burger, there was no splatter. I didn't have to babysit it, and it did cook within a window of time that the chart said it would. So the burger was also fairly juicy as well. The containers, especially the one with the burger, was really greasy. So instead of trying to wash that by hand, I threw it in the dishwasher again. So once it's out of the dishwasher, we're coming back for another round, and that's for my dinner tonight. Let's keep going, shall we? Now for my next round, I've got some salmon here and some broccoli here. 2 5-ounce fillets. These are coated in oil, salt, pepper, garlic powder. Pretty basic, and they're both covered in the chart in the back, luckily enough. For the salmon, they say 2 4 to 6 ounce fillets, which I have. Air fry 400 degrees, 14 to 16 minutes. Over here, broccoli. They say toss in oil, which I've done. 390. Now if you're using 2 zones, 12 to 16 minutes. Let's set this up now. On the salmon side, we've got air fry. We need to go up to 400. 14 to 16 minutes. Let's go on the low end of that. Now on the broccoli side, we're also going air fry. 390, we also need 12 to 16 minutes. I'm gonna go on the low end of that. We'll go Smart Finish again. And we are off. Broccoli's gonna wait a couple minutes before it joins the salmon. I'll toss the broccoli halfway through, but obviously I'm not gonna flip the salmon. I'll keep an eye on these and let you know if anything changes, but otherwise in about 12 to 15 minutes, we should have my delicious salmon and broccoli dinner. Let's take a quick temperature reading on the salmon. 134. My broccoli should be good to go as well. That round seemed to go a little bit more smoothly than the last one. Here's what we got, salmon right here, and we have our broccoli right there, which has a little bit of browning, not too much. I'm glad it turned out well because that's my dinner tonight. It's like a nice wholesome meal. Nice flaky, moist looking salmon, here we go. It came out great, it's perfectly cooked all the way through. Did a great job on that one. How about the broccoli now? I think the broccoli turned out pretty well, slightly al dente still. I could have gone maybe another minute, but I think that's still good enough. So I think this round was pretty smooth, so I think I'm starting to get the hang of it. My dinner is done, and my day is done. I'm pretty happy with today, and we'll come back tomorrow and see what else we can come up with. Now for day 3, I did try a few more things, but I'm just gonna quickly go through those. I made 2 more hamburger patties and I made adjustments based on the first time I did it. They turned out fine, but what was funny is when I put the cheese on there at the end, it was kind of flapping around in the breeze. I also tried the re-crisp function on the cheesy tater tots I made in the first round. I also put some mozzarella sticks on the other side. The cheesy tots came out fine from the re-crisp with 5 minutes, but the mozzarella sticks, I put them in there according to the directions from the air fry instructions on the bag. Wasn't enough. It seems like most things I made using the air fry instructions was never quite long enough. Speaking of needing more time, I did realize in that last round that if you press the 1 minute button repeatedly, you can keep adding extra minutes. Rather than have to reset it for 2 or 3 minutes, you just press the button 2 or 3 more times. They don't really highlight that, but it is a feature that's kind of nice. And speaking of nice features, I think it's time to talk about pros and cons. As far as pros go, there's a lot of things I like about it. It has a huge capacity to it. It's double the original Ninja Crispi, so it makes a lot of food. I love the fact that you can make 2 different dishes at the same time. It's really like having 2 Ninja Crispis side by side. I do like the smart finish mode when things actually finish on time. That can be helpful when you're multitasking and don't have to watch it. I also like how it tells you when the cycle's halfway through so you can flip or stir if necessary. All the removable parts are dishwasher safe. I've run it through there multiple times. They've held up fine. I do think with some trial and error, this is going to be something a lot of people will like. However, there are some cons to discuss first. As noted earlier, you can't use Max Crisp on both sides at the same time. And you can't use Match Cook when you're using Max Crisp. Still hard to say. I was also unable to change the temperature on Max Crisp even though the directions say you can do that. It's also just very heavy and large. I put it on my bathroom scale as 29.4 pounds. That could be an issue for some people who would struggle to move something like this. Also, the size is just large. It's gonna take up a pretty big chunk of counter space. Now with most air fryers, there's gonna be some trial and error, but this one's gonna take double trial and error because you have different times whether you're using 1 zone or 2. That tells me it's definitely sharing some resources, so you're gonna have to get used to cook times for 1 zone versus using 2 zones. Another small con is the fact that the top of that is kind of prone to pick up fingerprints. Maybe not a big deal to some people, but it is to others. And as stated before, whenever I used air fryer instructions, even on air fry mode, I almost always had to go longer than stated. In the end, I would say it's versatile, powerful, heavy, and finicky. There's a lot you can do with this, but at 30 pounds, it isn't nearly as portable as the original, although I don't think it's trying to be. But I'm gonna keep using this, and I'm gonna let you know in a year how it's held up with update 72. But that's all I've got. If you've used the Ninja Crispi DualZone, tell me what you think in the comments below. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.